When Jeep launched the latest generation of the Grand Cherokee for 2022, one of the highlights was the launching of a plug-in hybrid, the 4xe. It's what's beside me here right now, so stick around because on this latest review, I'm going to take a look at the 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. When this latest generation of the Grand Cherokee was launched, of course, we all talked about the signature powertrain being the 4xe, this plug-in hybrid variant. And I have done a full review, just by the way, of the Grand Cherokee. I had the 5-liter V8, and you're certainly free. I'm going to put the link up now so if you want to watch it, but I'll also encourage you to watch this, and I will also put the link for my regular Grand Cherokee review at the end. But in this review, I'm going to focus more on the plug-in hybrid aspect and not a full, complete review of all aspects of the Grand Cherokee. So please watch this, and if you want to know more about everything Jeep, watch my other review on the gas-only Grand Cherokee as well. So with the launch of this Grand Cherokee 4xe, we have, again, this new powertrain, and of the 3.6 of the 5-liter V8 and of this plug-in hybrid, it is the most powerful because you have a combination of a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine and an electric motor paired with a 17.3 kilowatt-hour battery with a total combined output of 375 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. That kind of power will give you plenty of output, plenty of enjoyable driving, and it will give you the chance to tow as well, because this is a vehicle commonly associated with taking the boat up to the cottage or things like that. And in that case, you still have up to 6,000 pounds of towing capacity to get it done. As a plug-in hybrid, you have the ability to drive electric only for stretches, not as long as a full electric, but of course longer than you would for those brief stints that you would in a traditional hybrid. With this 4xe in the Grand Cherokee, you are said to have about 40 kilometers of EV-only range, or 25 miles. In my experience, and this is actually encouraging because I'm now mid to late November. We're here in Ontario, and we're actually entering an abnormally cold spell. This is cold right now. We've had snow. We don't normally have it this early in the Toronto area, but I have seen, when charging overnight, estimated ranges of 40 kilometers or above. In fact, this morning when I left, I saw 45 kilometers. So, and that is always, of course, based upon a continuation of the vehicle, understanding your driving habits and preferences. So it's more of an updated, on-time, sort of real-time estimation. And even in this kind of cold weather, we're not in dead winter yet, but it's certainly not ideal. We're getting true measurements as per what they claim. As this is a plug-in hybrid, you do need to actually plug it in because you cannot get enough energy just by the regenerative braking system alone. You can use a level 1, just a regular 110 outlet, though. You don't have to get a level 2 home charger if you didn't want to. Overnight, you could actually go from having no battery to a full battery in about 11 to 12 hours or so. So, you get home from work. By the time you're going back to work in the morning, if you're not driving it out, you'd be back to full. But if you do want to get a level 2 charger, it will charge in somewhere between 2 to 3 hours from empty to full. I say 2 to 3 because it's interesting. On Jeep's own website, it will say 2 hours. But when I also checked the Monroney price sheet for this vehicle in Canada, I guess as per Natural Resources Canada, it said about 3 hours and change. So, but 2 to 3 hours is what it will take. Certainly plenty of time. If you're an overnighter and you're plugging it home, you'll have the full advantage of the EV only. And of course, once that expires, you're basically driving as a hybrid. But for those who use this as a commuter vehicle and don't do a lot of daily driving, if you're always plugging it in full, you may not touch that gas tank. You may fill it once a month, if that. Obviously, the benefit of having a plug-in hybrid is you use less gasoline. As I mentioned earlier, you could probably go long periods of time if you're just a regular commuter without having to touch the gas. But you still have to measure fuel efficiency, but it's trickier, of course, in combination because you're driving on a combination of electric only and gasoline. So the way that they measure it is in sort of what we call a liter's equivalent, or MPGE. basic concept is that, even a liter of gas or a gallon of gas would have an equivalent electrical energy. It's converted and measured. A lot of complicated stuff, but the measurements you would use, the combined fuel and energy efficiency in Canada for this Grand Cherokee 4xe is 4.2 liters E per 100 kilometers. In the US, that converts to 56 mpge. Again, kind of complicated to figure it out, but it's a baseline, and you can measure and compare other PHEVs, I have to say, against each other using those metrics. Generally speaking, the idea with plug-in hybrids is with a battery, you would drive it on electric only until such time as it was exhausted, and then you would become a hybrid vehicle. And that's typically how most PHEVs are used. With Jeep, however, and their 4xe, part of how they marketed the idea of why a plug-in hybrid would work well for Jeep is that you might want to save the stealth, the quiet nature of electric driving, as well as the high torque capabilities of a battery for when you are, say, off-roading. And that's, of course, one of the big selling features when they first launched the Wrangler 4xe. You can take it off-road and you could be in nature and stealth and with all the power you need to get over difficult terrain. And so because of that, the way that they have set up their 4xe models is that you have a certain amount of selectability in terms of when you might want to choose to use electric only, or save that power, or a combination of both. So with this Grand Cherokee 4xe, it comes with 3 different select driving modes. You have the ability to have control over whether this vehicle drives in what's known as hybrid mode, in electric mode, or in what you would call e-save mode. And you do so with a simple selector just by the driver's side on the wheel here. You just select. Now, when you're driving in hybrid mode, the computer will optimize. It will have a bias towards electric, but it will basically gauge when you might need to have the gas. If you need a higher torque situation, like if you're going to enter a highway and you want to rapidly accelerate, it will determine that, and it will offer some assistance from the engine. And it works quite well. I've been driving in hybrid mode a few times this week, and I would watch. You can see when the engine is contributing and when it's battery only. You can tell when it's going to do so. And it actually is a great way to optimize overall the type of efficiency you can get if you're going to use both. With electric only mode, of course, it's simple enough. You are relying on the battery. But even in that case, if you are in a high torque required situation, if you put your pedal to the metal, if you really put the accelerator down, it will supplement some additional torque from the gas engine. When you're in e-save mode, of course, you're going to save the battery power for a time when you would want it. Outside of maybe off-roading, I don't know when you deliberately save it. Perhaps you may be wanting to drive home when you're getting home late, and you don't want to be you don't want to wake up everybody, so you save your battery so you can go in stealth mode, if you know what I mean. It can work that way. But even in e-save mode, you have the ability just to save it, or through a control, you can go into a heavier regen mode. If you have maybe half your battery left and you want to sort of take the drive to a countryside spot where you're going to go off-roading and get a little more charge, you could put it into a heavier regen mode, which allows you to sort of generate more. It's going to use a little bit more gas because you're asking more output with the higher braking and the kinetic energy going into the battery, but nonetheless, you can even add electric range for times when you need it. So that kind of versatility is really good for a vehicle like this, and I found it helpful just because I could choose when I want to have battery, when I like hybrid, or when I just want to save it. This vehicle is fully capable as a Jeep, and with the Jeep brand name, it is designed to do everything a Jeep should do. You're not giving up anything by having a plug-in hybrid. And interestingly enough, one way of highlighting that for 2023, the Trailhawk version of this Grand Cherokee is only what's exclusive to the 4xe. You can't get the gas-only Trailhawk version in the Grand Cherokee anymore, so that kind of tells you something. But any version, like I'm in the Overland, which is not quite Summit or Summit Reserve, but it is more opulent, more luxurious trim, but it is trail rated, and any trail rated Grand Cherokee will have features such as the Quadra-Lift air suspension system, so I have up to 10.9 inches of ground clearance, and even with a plug-in hybrid, I have 24 inches of water fording. The battery compartment is completely sealed and waterproof, so that's not an issue, not a worry at all. As it is with the gas-only version, the interior of the Grand Cherokee 4xe is spacious, and depending upon trim level, it can be quite luxurious.
With the battery pack placed below the passenger compartment, there is no reduction of interior space, with 144.6 cubic feet of interior passenger volume. Both front and second row seats offer enough head, leg, and shoulder room for up to 5 adults comfortably. The Jeep seating architecture features a length-adjustable cushion for front row passengers. The 16-way adjustable front seats have power lumbar and memory, and higher specification versions offer driver and front passenger seat back massage. Heated vented seats are available in the first 2 rows. The front panel features slim HVAC vents, a realigned center stack for greater driver accessibility, and 10.1-inch digital screens, which are for the digital cluster and a touchscreen radio, as well as a segment-first available 10.25-inch front passenger interactive display. There is a price premium, of course, for the 4xe compared to the gas version. Exact amounts will vary, but in the US, you'll see about a $9,000 premium, while Canadian buyers will be looking at close to a $12,000 premium. Now that said, the 4xe at this point still qualifies for the $7,500 tax credit in the US. And in Canada, the 4xe is eligible for the federal IZEV rebate, as well as various provincial rebates where they're offered.
Jeep has noted it is their intention to put 4xe or plug-in hybrid models electrification through their entire product lineup, and they even now have launched a all-electric Jeep model, which they recently debuted. And to my mind, the Grand Cherokee 4xe is probably the one model that is best suited to be a plug-in hybrid. And I'll explain why. Despite the fact that Jeeps are eminently capable at going off-roading, most people don't ever go off-roading in their Jeeps. They know they can take it off-road, but most don't do that, or at least don't do it regularly. The Grand Cherokee is eminently capable, but it was always designed to be in that portfolio of Jeep brands, the one that is perhaps the greatest likelihood to be a daily driver, a premium luxury-esque, just on the fringe, a full-size or medium-sized SUV. It is the one that you're most likely to see as the family vehicle in the entire Jeep portfolio. And because of that, more often than not, even though you can take this Grand Cherokee on difficult terrains, you can water ford, you can go off-roading, most people will use this as a daily driver to get to work, to get the kids to school, to get to hockey practice, to baseball, to football, whatever it may be. And because of that, the EV-only range, the 40-45 kilometers, the 25 miles, is going to be used a lot. There will be many times somebody driving this Grand Cherokee is not going to touch the gas for days. So in terms of getting the most benefit of a plug-in hybrid while also allaying some of those range fears, well, what if I do go to the cottage? What if we do take a long trip? You still have the gas. This really aligns well with the 4xe concept. I think, even though this is premium, I think it is really ideally suited. And I would like to imagine that as acceptance of this goes, you will stop seeing, say, the 5-liter V8, and you'll only see perhaps the 3.6 and this 4xe, because this is the trim and the powertrain in the Grand Cherokee that makes the most sense for the way this vehicle is typically used. The all-new Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe is everything we like it to be with a Jeep brand name in terms of capabilities. It's everything we want it to be with a Grand Cherokee in terms of that ideal-sized, family-friendly SUV. And it's everything I like it to be as a plug-in hybrid in terms of fuel efficiency, the ability to go good distances on battery alone. This really is a winning package overall, and if you're in this category, you definitely need to take a look at this Grand Cherokee 4xe. And also, if you are not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so, and if you are, thank you, but make sure you are ringing the bell so you're notified of every time I upload something new. That's it for now. I'm Eric Novak. Thanks for watching.